What's going on, everybody? It's Q from Retro Q Gaming, and we're going to do something just a little bit different today. So, as you probably already know and probably already expect, as everyone's favorite YouTuber, yes, I frequently get products and game codes and whatnot thrown at me. But you very rarely ever hear me mention this, simply because 99% of the time I actually refuse all this stuff, because it's something I'm genuinely not interested in. But that's where this one is a little bit different. Gyro Games recently approached me to talk about their new game, Module TD Sci-Fi Tower Defense. And since, believe it or not, tower defense games are actually something I am interested in, I decided I'd go ahead and give it a shot. Because believe it or not, I'm actually a big tower defense guy, but the problem with these type of games is a lot of them aren't very good. In fact, the last one I played that I remember really enjoying was almost about 10 years ago in the early Xbox 360 era. Like many of you out there who probably like this genre, I've actually kind of resigned myself to very rarely even trying these new games, because most of them just generally fall flat. So let's get some important stuff out of the way. Gyro Games gave me this code for free for Module TD on Steam in order for me to play this, test this out, and make a video with my thoughts and opinions on the matter. I'm not being compensated in any way, shape, or form, so all the opinions and thoughts in this video are my own. All the links in the description are non-affiliate links, they're just generic links, and that's that taken care of. Let's go. So let's cover the basic stuff right out of the gate. What is Module TD, a sci-fi tower defense? Well, like the name suggests, it's a tower defense game. But what sets this one apart? Because there are tons of tower defense games out there. And really what I have to say is there's a few things that do set this apart from what I've played in the past. But we'll get to the specifics a little bit later. So let's get the generic stuff out of the way. Yes, of course, it's a sci-fi based tower defense game with over 80 levels. Pretty expansive in my opinion. You've got many different tower types between standard Gatling lasers, larger Gauss cannons, missile batteries, etc. Each of which have their own strengths and weaknesses. They cost different amounts to buy, different amounts to upgrade, they have different rates of fire, different damage, some are AoE, range, etc. So like many tower defense games, you just have to mix and match, find your own specific way and specific style of doing stuff in order to defend everything. There's also 3 main powers to use, which you select beforehand, that can be used once per level, kind of a game breaker moment. This can be a huge burst of output of damage, or stunning every enemy unit for a couple of seconds and doing very small bits of damage to them at the same time. We've all had those moments where you need this kind of thing. There's also a new mechanic that I've only ever seen in one other tower defense game that I actually really enjoy. And that is a lot of levels actually incorporate a system where you can build the towers and turrets to actually shape the layout and path of your enemies. A lot of tower defense games I find kind of put you on the outside of the paths, which there are a few that do that in this game, but there's also a bunch of levels that put them in the actual enemy's path. And you can reroute enemies by building accordingly. So instead of giving enemies a short direct route to your base, you can lay it out so that they have to take a much longer route, and well, of course that means they have to go by a lot more of your turrets, so you've got a better chance of stopping them. Of course, every type of turret can be upgraded in many ways. First off, you've got the standard level up upgrades in the game itself. And these are your standard fare upgrades that you'd see in pretty much any game. It'll upgrade the damage a small bit, maybe the rate of fire a small bit, maybe the range a small bit, things like that. But there's actually also base level upgrades that you can do outside of the individual levels. For example, if you have a Gauss cannon, you can naturally upgrade the Gauss cannon outside of levels so that when you do build one, it's naturally stronger by default. Again, kind of standard stuff across the board, but by no means a bad thing. But where the upgrades and customizations kind of take off and set themselves apart for Module TD is that there are 2 new mechanics in this game, which are the element system and the module system. As an RPG guy, the element system plays right into my own hand, because like you'd expect, certain elements are weak against other elements and are strong against other elements. During the course of the games, you'll find enemies with certain element-based shields. So if they have an ice-based shield, you want to equip a fire element before the level starts onto whatever turrets you're putting down. They will rip through it with sometimes up to 200% damage or higher. So there's a lot of strategy involved in it from that side of it. Because the last thing you want to do is get stuck in a level where your current setup only allows you to do 50% damage to whatever type of enemy shields you're attacking. But there's also the module system. And how the module system works is, first off, there's over 30 different modules that can be researched and used to upgrade your turrets. Now, every single turret can use one element and several different modules at the same time. The thing is, with these modules, naturally they provide some obvious benefits like, say, increased range, firepower, fire speed, siphoning resources every time they attack. There's multiple different benefits to different ones. And you can use them as a combination to create the perfect wave you like to play. For example, my laser turrets, I have set up in a way so that they attack at a very high rate of fire, and every time they siphon off some additional credits for me. That unit in particular I don't focus on damage for, because that has a different function in my use. So you can customize them in so many ways based on your own playstyle. Of course, these modules have their own drawbacks as well. Some of them might reduce the rate of fire, some of them might reduce the range, some of them might cost more to initially buy the tower, some of them might even cost more to upgrade the tower. So it's a very delicate balance you have to maintain based on your playstyle, how you want your turrets set up, all while being able to afford enough turrets and a constant resource stream to actually be able to build the turrets that afford them to complete the levels. Speaking of completing levels, let's talk about what is probably the most divisive issue in this game. And it's divisive on both a positive and negative side of it. And that, of course, is the difficulty. Now, one of the reasons why I find most tower defense games kind of lackluster is generally their difficulty. Usually they're very, very, very easy, or else most of them, because they're usually mobile games at this point, are set up in a way to encourage spending of real world money. So Module TD is a little bit different in this aspect of it. This game is actually very difficult. I've frequently found myself failing on either a first or second wave, or maybe the last or second last wave of a level. Despite having a full bevy and full playing field of all sorts of turrets with upgrades, it's actually a challenge. And that's what I really, really like about the game. It is actually difficult, and I have to work to win, which is something you don't see in these games really. But why is this divisive? Well, depending on your level of investment into the game, by which I mean how interested in it you are and how much of a challenge you want back from it, this could pose too difficult for your average player. It could prove very off-putting. If you have to go through 10, 12, whatever it is amount of waves again, just because you failed on the last one, even with the fast forward button, it can be very disheartening and a little bit frustrating for some people. I'm personally not one of those people. I like the challenge, I like the level of difficulty in this game. In fact, it's actually the most attractive thing about this game for me. But it is something important to know going in. Now you may be wondering, Q, I need my story, I need my cinematic experience, what has this got for me? Well, there is a story, kind of. It just throws you into the middle of it. Unfortunately, it doesn't really explain much, and it doesn't really have any consequences. As you might expect, it's got a little bit of a cartoony, funny side of it to the story. Kinda looks like it was taken from all sorts of pop culture when it comes to space and sci-fi. There's some obvious Star Trek in there, some obvious Guardians of the Galaxy. You get the point. But honestly, you'll find yourself glossing over the story completely, in my opinion. It's all about the gameplay in this. So where does that leave us when it comes to Module TD Sci-Fi Tower Defense? Do I recommend it, and what's the deal? And where can you pick it up? Well, the game is available on Steam, iOS and Android. I've played the Steam version, which is currently €8.19 on Steam. And do I recommend it? I can recommend Module TD for several groups of people. Those of you out there who like tower defense games and are looking for something a bit different. Or maybe those of you out there who haven't found one to suit your tastes. This will probably be the one for you. And if you're looking for a different tower defense game with an actual challenge rather than the walkovers you're probably used to, this is probably the game for you. However, if you're only starting off on the genre, or you're looking for something a bit more casual and a bit easier, you might find this game a bit too difficult and complex. Having said all that, if Gyro Games hadn't have reached out to me and got me to try this, I actually probably would have skipped over it. Not because of the quality of the game or anything, but like most of you out there, I've probably just resigned myself to the point where I gloss over most of them. Because I was at the point where I'd played so many mediocre ones, I was beginning to write off the genre. But thankfully Gyro Games did reach out to me and got me to play Module TD Sci-Fi Tower Defense, and I'm absolutely loving it. I'm looking forward to pumping ridiculous amounts of hours into this over the next couple of, I don't know, days, weeks, months, however long it takes me, and maybe go back to it every so often. Mix it up a little bit, maybe try get 3 stars on every level, fully upgrade everything I can. The completionist route, you guys know how it is. And at this point I'm actually kind of tempted to just pick it up on Android. Got a nice new phone recently, nice big screen. And it'd certainly provide a little bit of variety from my usual mobile side of it, which is really only one game. But as far as this video goes, when it comes to the Steam version, it's definitely a quality game. I haven't tried the Android version and I don't have any iOS products, but I'm sure you get a very similar experience on there too. Between your difficult gameplay, and I say that in a good way, upgrade system, module system, element system, and your placing of towers to create a funnel, I'm sure that style of gameplay applies to all 3 platforms. So once again, if you're interested in picking this up, I'll have generic non-affiliate links in the description below, as well as a link to their Facebook page. Let me know if you're a fan of tower defense games, if like me you've fallen out of the genre because of the quality of what's out there mostly, or if you've already played this or plan on giving it a try. Peace out everyone, I'll see you in the rest of the videos on my channel.